Hey everybody, it's been a few days since I was last down here and was pretty disgusted with myself and with the Wells Index mill and what was going on with it. The last thing I did that night was I actually rigged up an indicator on the spindle here, on the outside of the spindle, which is pretty smooth, and ran the mill really slow to get an idea of what kind of runout I've got on this thing. And it looks pretty bad. Let me zoom in here and run it for you. Alright, so this is my brown and sharp indicator that I've got on here, and I'm running the spindle backwards right now so that that finger on the indicator is just sitting on that as it's going around. And I'm rotating it real slow, as you can see. This indicator, it's a best test, and it can actually measure in half a thousandths. So what I did was I zeroed the indicator to just about where you could, I mean, there's a little bit of roughness in the outside of that spindle, so that's what that little bit of shaking is there at the end. But for the most part, you can see that it's coming down to 0, and then it's going up to just about 2.5. So 2.5 thousandths total indicator runout. I think that's what you call it. TIR? Is that what it is? Anyways. But 2.5 thousandths might not seem bad, but I mean, I don't know if that's bad. I mean, I guess a lot of factors come into play, age of the machine and things like that. But I just been thinking about this more and more, and the more I think about it, the more I think my problems lie from, my problems are originating from this spindle being broken. I think, and I'm going to try and confirm this tonight, but I think what's happened is I think that spindle has separated and is not, the two cracked portions are not in perfect alignment with each other any longer. I think that's what's going on, and I think what that's causing is I think that's causing a situation where the spindle is not straight, and if that's getting this top part out of whack, that could be causing my whole alignment problem. That could even explain the shifting issue. I don't know. Just is all theoretical at this point. All right, like so. For instance, I did finally get it into high, but I had to really force it in there and kind of jam it in there. And now it doesn't want to come out of high, and I'm thinking that the whole shaft that engages there is kind of like being pulled off to the side where it's not supposed to be. I think that's why this is so hard to move. I'd be willing to bet that if I took this top assembly off and the bearing, all that would be free to move, I'd be willing to bet that whole thing would move over and get lined up with the shaft that's out of whack, and then I think this would actually start working. But I was wondering whether or not, if I get this indicator out of the way, I was wondering whether or not if I lower the quill, then that spline shaft is going to move down and out of that assembly, and I'm wondering whether or not that would actually start to change things. I want to see if that makes a difference. Because, well, there you go right there. There's a clue right there. I don't have the camera on this side, but what you can't see is that when I push this back, it's as if I get the quill locked. So that is kind of a dead giveaway that whole spline shaft is being, you like that? Oh, glad that I can laugh, considering I'm going to have to take this damn thing apart again. So if I pull this all the way down, further down I go, it gets a little looser, but not much. There you go. See, all the way. If I pull it all the way down, now it's a little looser. I wonder now if that's still pretty stuck. Alright. So this should not be all stiff like this. So I'm going to take the top off, but I'm not going to bother videoing that because you've seen me do it like 3 times now. Alright, so this appeared, felt really stuck, pried it up, and as soon as I pried it up past the locating pins, which would allow this to actually shift out of position, as soon as I did that, this lever was able to move again freely. You can see that there's no binding whatsoever in that actual. It has nothing to do with that drum mechanism that does the shifting. That's perfectly fine. And now my quill, I took the, first I took the drawbar and the collet out. And that made no difference. And now my quill is now released. You can see the spring returns working. So, question is, what's going on here? Well, if I look at the hole in reference to the locating pin, I could see that yeah, this whole assembly moved that way. Oh, probably a 1/16 of an inch. Now, I could pull this all out right now, but because of the weight and everything, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this assembly apart instead. I'm going to take the handle off and take the top cover off. Got the motor off, tilted the head over. Playing around with this again to see what's going on. When I put it into low range, it seemed to be working fine, and then when I put it in neutral, it was in neutral, but when I put it in high, it was like it was in neutral. That's because this whole assembly had moved up so far that it wasn't engaging at all. So what I did was I took my mallet, I tapped it back down, thinking that that would be, you know, the position, and then thinking, well, since this is no longer being forced over, that you know, my theory would pan out and that this should still work. But no, what happened is now I can't get it into high again. Not only that, but when I try to turn this sheave, it's really hard to turn. So something's really wrong here. I'm wondering if there's something going on with this brake assembly. I think what I gotta do is I gotta pull this out again. Of course, now it's really stuck in there. When I had the cover on there, I could pry up on the cover, and I was pulling up on it. Now with the cover off, I've got nothing to pry. Let's see, I'll figure something out. Alright, just to show you what I did. I laid a plate, steel plate across here. I got this thing, this pry bar in here, and pried that up, and it just popped free. So now, it's still tight, but oh god, whew, it's really stuck. Now I can shift it to high, but I bet you it's not even. Yeah, it's not even engaging this anymore. I mean, that just seems something just seems really rotten there. Oh god. Well, I think I may have just had a eureka moment. Of course, I thought I had this problem figured out before, and I was wrong. I might be wrong again. Alright, so first I looked at the brake assembly here, and I looked at how this works, and when you pull this cam, what happens is these two shoes squeeze the lip on that lower sheave. I'll show you that in a minute, right in this area right here. Well, the only real adjustment to speak of is there's an adjustment that controls at what point this shoe, or how far this shoe moves in, really. Not sure if there's a way. It almost looks like the rod that moves in and out It's threaded on the back here. It looks like maybe that's threaded through this shoe. Then there's a couple of springs in there that are responsible for pushing the shoes apart from each other to basically put it back in the freewheel mode. So I don't really think there's a problem here. So then I was looking at over here, and you see these tangs right here. This is what has to engage. I'll show you where it engages on the bottom of the sheave in a second. In order for these lugs right here to engage the notches or the slots on the bottom of that sheave, that bottom pulley, that toothed pulley, has to slide down over this special spanner nut that I put on. So that's this special pulley right here. Here are the notches that are supposed to engage that. So this ID right here has to slide down over the spanner nut. And what I just noticed is that all the work I did on this thing, I never cleaned the rust off the inside of this. In other words, if you look right there, you can see that's all rusted and it's got all crap and crud in it. And that might be what the hell's binding right there. Alright, so here we go. That's all cleaned up now. And if that's a really tight tolerance there, which I think it is, that might be what's going on here. Now, do I want to lube this? Yeah, I think I do. Just a light film of grease maybe on the inside here. I don't know what else is going to get in there to lube that. I discussed how the oiling system works with the oil cup, and that's not going to do anything for me up here. But if this is meant to slide in and out of that other piece, I think it should have a little bit of grease. Alright, so I'm curious now when I go to put this in whether or not it slides down in a lot easier. Because if it does, then that'll be like my dead giveaway that that's what was going on here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in low range, which effectively will move that whole assembly out of the way so that it won't be up inside here at all, to make this easy to put on. And then once I have this on, I'll test it out and see what the heck's going on there. Okay. That's in a little bit, but that's not in far enough. I can tell by the space that I see in here that, yeah, right now this is not going to be. It's not in the area down here with that thin walled pulley area that actually is what makes the brake work needs to be. It's interesting to me how tight that is. What is that slipping onto? So tight. Oh, that's this big bearing right here press fit into this housing. That's what I'm feeling for resistance when I do that. That's normal. Takes a little bit of jockeying to get that pulley in. Get that geared tooth pulley into the timing belt. Now, I should be able to tap this, get that bearing to go into its housing. If that's it or not. The problem is I don't know how far down it's supposed to go. Alright, well let's see what happens here with the... Alright, so I'm in back gear right now, and that's working. Turn the spindle, rotate the spindle while attempting to get it into neutral, and it's in neutral. There's the position for high, and you'll note it's still in neutral. So I know this isn't far enough down yet. So I'm going to rotate the spindle while tapping this down. Oh, I just hit it. No, getting close though. I think that's it. Alright, that's locked in right there. That's neutral. That's locked in. That's working now. Got to put the belt on. I haven't had any luck trying to get this belt on. Not enough clearance here to get this belt on. Oh wait, get tired of being wrong. That's good. Alright, you guys don't need to bother watching me put the cover back on, right? Alright, I got it all back together. I'm not going to bother putting that vertical just yet until I see whether or not things are working the way they should. Right now it's in high, and if I manually rotate the belt, it does seem like it's engaged. So now, let's see, to get it in neutral, I should be able to just rotate this and pull down on this lever. And you see it doesn't want to go. Oh, way too hard. Should be a lot easier than that to pull that into neutral. And now watch what's going to happen. It's not going to want to go back into high. Oh, look at that. Right there. I could feel that. I could feel it right at this point right here. I just separated that spindle. Tell just by the feel that I'm only turning this lower half of the broken part, and it's sort of. See, now if I could remember exactly what position it should be in to mate up, then I could install the drawbar and pull it together right now. I believe to get it into high, yeah, I think I'm supposed to apply the brake so that this pulley can't move, and then turn the spindle. Moved a little bit. And now that spindle has come out, the top half of the spindle has come out of that bore far enough now that it's not even engaging this at all. Not to mention, listen to this. I think I got more than one thing going on here. I've now taken the entire lower half of the spindle and bearings out, and by doing that, what I hope to accomplish is free up that upper half of the spindle to move a little bit back into position if it wants to. And I still am having trouble where it's not wanting to get into that direct drive high range. I can still feel that it's that, clearly it's that darn it's clearly, to me it seems like it's that part that I cleaned out, that nut's not going in there the way it's supposed to. I don't know whether or not the outside of that nut looked pretty clean, but I think I got to take that apart and maybe make some measurements and see. And then I put the indicator on just for giggles, and I was getting, it was out about 15 thousandths. So the problem is, obviously the problem is going to be that I can never guarantee that I've got this locked into where it's supposed to be. I think that's why that's going all out of whack. So I'm going to have to pull the spindle and come up with a fix for it. Of course, the other thing I'm going to have to do with the spindle, what I should have done when I had it out first time, is I should see whether or not it's straight. See if it's got a bend in it. But if it's not bent, then I'm going to have to try and figure out whether or not I can weld this. Which unfortunately means I'm going to take all my bearings and everything off that I put together here. But I was quite unimpressed with the way this sounded. I don't know. I'm asking too much.